Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another installment of Scott's Selections here for Sunday, March 1st. Before we get into today's play of the day, a quick recap of what happened yesterday. A lot of action to go through as we had one play on the StatSolve video as well as 3 plays on the Winners and Whiners video, and we ended up splitting and going 2-2, which is kind of frustrating because I believe it's the 3rd straight time that I've gone 2-2 when giving out 4 plays, which is pretty annoying. But either or, in the video on this channel, I ended up giving out a loser with the over 155 between BYU and Pepperdine. First matchup totaled 170 plus points. Both teams just couldn't shoot. It looked decent over the first, say 6 minutes, and then there were a couple in and outs, a couple of offensive fouls. Pace pretty much died down, and the game ended up going under. But if you actually look at the rest of the Winners and Whiners plays, it actually worked out pretty well. We won with the over 153 in the VMI Samford game. That game got into the 160s. We won with Oklahoma State -7 as they beat Iowa State by double digits. And then we picked up a little bit of a tough loss there with Gonzaga -13. They were up 14 with about 8.5 to go, only won by 10. But either or, that game was definitely entertaining to say the least. Tough beat there if you had the first half on over. That's probably one of the worst beats of the year. But overall, for today's play of the day, we're going to be going back into the NBA. And we're going to be looking, I know that the Timberwolves are playing, but I'm actually not going to be taking the over for once. I know that all of you can, and I probably will take it personally for a little bit. But I said that the totals in Timberwolves games should actually be in the 240s, and it's not even a discussion. And it appears that the odds makers have finally listened, as the total between the Timberwolves and the Mavericks are currently at 244, give or take. So that's a pretty high total. I think it's warranted. They played about a week ago, totaled into the 260s, and I'm personally going to pass on that one. Do I think that it could go over? Of course, I probably will bet it, but I think you probably would be better off waiting for a live bet. It wouldn't surprise me to see this game be a bit low-scoring early on, and if at any point this total gets into the 230s in the live betting in total, I probably would just live bet the over. But for the pregame, don't really see much value on it. I think you should see both teams play a little bit better defensively early on because of the fact that they literally just played each other a week ago. But I would expect to see this game still get into the 230s, 240s. So I think a live bet's probably the best option. But the play that is actually going to be on a matchup between the Detroit Pistons and the Sacramento Kings. And we're going to be taking the Sacramento Kings here -7.5. And that one is available on DraftKings at -110. A couple of reasons why we like the Kings in this spot. First of all, Kings, even though they're not in the playoff picture, they've actually been flying under the radar. They've actually looked really good lately. The Kings have won 4 of their last 5 games. The one loss coming by a choke job, double-digit collapse against the Thunder a couple of days ago. But the Kings have still covered each of their last 5 point spreads. They've been really good against the numbers lately. And Detroit, even though they won their last game against Phoenix, Phoenix just lost as double-digit favorites yesterday to the Warriors at home. So the Suns are clearly not playing good basketball. Detroit is still tanking, as based on their lineup, it's definitely very underwhelming. Detroit has managed to lose 7 of their last 8 games, really just not playing good basketball. And if you've looked at what their projected lineup is supposed to be, their projected lineup for the Pistons, because Thon Maker might be out also, and Christian Wood might not play, and they're both been starters for the last couple of games. You have Derrick Rose, who's been solid. You have Mikhailuk, who probably shouldn't be in the league. Tony Snell, who's not great. You have Wood, who's questionable with a foot injury, probably won't play. And then the center replacing Thon Maker is going to be John Henson. Now, if you remember that name, yes, former North Carolina guy who used to be on the Bucks and did virtually nothing in his entire career. He is most likely going to be taking over the starting center spot, according to The Atlantic. And he, as people might know, is averaging 5.3 points per game and 4.1 rebounds. Really just not that good of a basketball player, and I expect them to continue struggling with him in the lineup. Defensively, they might be better, but offensively, Henson's a mess. And I think you should see the Kings, led by Giles and Fox, as well as Barnes, and even Buddy Hield off the bench. I think you should see him have a good performance. Fox is questionable, as he's currently dealing with an abdomen injury, but he was able to play in their last game, so I think he probably will be able to get the game. I think he'll be able to play, but that remains to be seen. I'll gamble on it though. I don't think the Pistons really care about winning. I mentioned it before, and the Pistons have still been terrible. Same thing with the Bulls. I know that the one time we picked them, they ended up actually beating the Wizards. But if you've looked at them recently, this team can't win anything either. I'm going to lean to the Kings. This team's still technically in the hunt for a playoff spot. They're only about 3 games back of the 8th seed, so they're still actually playing for something. They haven't completely just shut it onto automatic pilot for the offseason. So for that reason, I think the Kings should be able to win this game by double digits. And for that reason, the play of the day is going to be on the Sacramento Kings minus 7.5. And that one is available on DraftKings at minus 110. Now looking at some of the leans on today's card, you've already had some upsets in college basketball as Creighton ended up losing to St. John's. My Red Storm actually showed up for a game for once. Unfortunately, it's well too late as they're not going to make the tournament. But hopefully, they're still entertaining, and hopefully they can potentially do something in the conference tournament, just, to play spoiler. But either we're looking at the leans for today's matchups. I'm going to lean to Stanford minus 2 against Colorado. Colorado have been playing some really bad basketball lately if you've looked at the recent performances. They are ranked 21st. They won't be for long, as they'll definitely be unranked by the end of the week. Stanford been flying under the radar in the Pac-12, still very solid at home. They play good defense. I think they should be able to win that game. Lean to Stanford minus the 2. Other than that, I'm going to lean to SMU minus 2. Game opened up at Pick'em, and now SMU is currently a 2-point favorite. Wichita State's been really good at home, really bad on the road. SMU has looked pretty solid at home this season. Both teams pretty solid. I'll lean to SMU, though. I think they should be able to win that game by at least 5. And those are pretty much my thoughts on college basketball. Now, looking at the NBA, to give out some leans here. What do I like here? I find this Lakers game very tricky against the Pelicans, just based on the fact that the Lakers did play yesterday, but they clearly just weren't interested, and they got blown out, and a decent amount of the starters didn't play as many minutes as they probably would have wanted to. But I'm actually going to lean to New Orleans. The first game was very close. It was about a week and a half ago in the Staples Center. That game was, I'd say it was a one-possession game for a decent portion of the second half before the Lakers blew it open late in the fourth. But overall, New Orleans looked really good at home. Lakers, even though they are a really solid team, I'm still a little bit concerned by this team's tendency to take nights off at random portions in the regular season. I'll lean to the Pelicans. I just think it's a better spot, and those are just my thoughts on that matchup. Other than that, though, what else do I like here? I think the Clippers game is very interesting. I would probably lean to the Clippers here, assuming that everybody's going to play with Beverly, Kawhi, and Paul George. They're favored by 13.5. Embiid and Simmons are still out of commission as they are injured, and the Clippers just beat the Nuggets at home by about 28 or so. If you watch any of that game, it was an absolute destruction, and I still believe that the Clippers, when at full strength, are the best team in the entire league. I think they'll win that game pretty easily. Lean to the Clippers on that one. Pretty much it for today's card, though. Relatively light. No tennis leans because men's tennis is taking a break for a couple weeks. So I'm probably going to start giving out some women's tennis leans in the future, just for the next week or so before the men's tennis resumes. But the play there, once again, is going to be on the Kings minus 7.5, and that one's available on DraftKings at minus 110. That's good for the installment of Scott's Selections here for Sunday, March 1st. Good luck to all of you and your expected bets today. Bye, everyone.